So when she's traveling to see Solomon, a part of her is excited because she figures that he must be intelligent. But another side of her is concerned because from her history, she has always been in environments where people are unhealthy. And they talk about how great they are. But when you actually get to know them and you actually listen to them, you realize that they're not as great as they suppose themselves to be. All this wealth with her to his country to see if she can just up her leadership just a little bit. But what happens is, though she's traveling to see him, she's been a leader for a while. She's been a queen for a while. So from her interaction with other kingdoms, she realizes that kings have a way of branding themselves or positioning themselves to be better than they really are. They might send out commercials. Back then it would have been like letters or decrees, but it's very similar to what we do today. They might send out press releases to talk about how good they are, talk about their accomplishments. But people have a tendency to talk higher about themselves than they really are. So when she's traveling to see Solomon, a part of her is excited because she figures that he must be intelligent. But another side of her is concerned because from her history, she has always been in environments where people are unhealthy. And they talk about how great they are. But when you actually get to know them and you actually listen to them, you realize that they're not as great as they suppose themselves to be. They set up environments with men and women that basically are yes men and just say yes to everything that they say. So because of those kinds of environments, the king, or sometimes the queen, they will appear intelligent because nobody wants to disagree with them. Like, who wants to disagree with a person who is the head of an army of thousands? Who wants to disagree with a person that if you upset them, they will take your life? Like who wants to deal with a person that if they're not pleased with you, they'll take away your employment? And because of that, kings were oftentimes called wise, even when they were not wise. They were called great, even when they are not great. If you look through the history of life, even in present day, people talk about kings and queens and put them in a particular light, and much of it is marketing. Because if you sat down and talked to them and got to know them, there would be probably some good things about them, because if you're in a royal environment, then something of royalty will come off on you. But it doesn't make you the wisest person in your region. And oftentimes leaders will present themselves, and I'm not just talking about kings, I'm just saying just leaders in general will present themselves as being all-knowing and having all the answers. And because people want to not upset the leader, they submit to the person's behavior and their actions, and they let them feel like they are intelligent or that they're all wise or whatever. So she's traveling from her country, having a lot of time to think about this, maybe even regretting sometimes as she's traveling along the way, that what if even the 10% that I'm looking for, what if I don't even get that from him? What if he's just a really good marketer, and for some reason he just sends out press releases to everybody and lets them know how great a leader he is? Maybe he gives people a little bit of money, because you're dealing with these poor people. You give them $100, they think you're the wisest man in the world, So she has this thought that maybe he's not what he seems to be. So then she says, on her way there, or maybe even before she was going there, let me get a list of questions to ask him. I want to challenge him. I want to have a list of questions to ask him. Some of them I'm going to ask because I want him to help me to better my life. Some of them I'm going to ask because I don't know if he is what he says he is. Some of the things I'm going to ask may even be about his personal life, Because if he's so great, then why does he make all these errors? Some of the questions that she might want to ask him, about how he treats the people that are around him. If he really is a genuine person, ask him about his spiritual life. You built this big temple. Are you really that spiritual? Because I'm looking around and I see with all these foreign wives, maybe she wanted to ask him questions about that. But she also had a listing of questions that were probably personal to herself, things that she didn't understand or things that she needed help with. But she had a lot of time while traveling to make a list, if she didn't even start that list before she traveled. And when she got to meet Solomon, her mentality was, I'm going to ask this guy these questions. And if he doesn't answer these questions wisely, I'm leaving, giving him my gifts because I don't want to have a problem with him. But I'm leaving knowing that everybody creates environments that they claim to be healthy and they're not healthy. I'm going to leave knowing that there's something, wrong with this person. And there's something wrong with people in general because people always want to create stories that have no truth in them. That was probably her mentality. But when she met him and she saw him, she thought to herself, okay, something seems to be there. Let me ask my questions. And as she asked him question after question, he didn't work like a politician today, because when you ask a politician something today, they do everything except answer your question. Are you going to raise taxes? Taxes? What are taxes? To one person, tax is financial. To another person, tax is a Medicare. To another person, tax is spending time with your family. I want you to feel comfortable. I want your life to be great. I will do everything that I can do to ensure that you're happy. So if raising taxes is something that doesn't make you happy, then we have to say to ourselves, it wouldn't be right to raise taxes. And if I'm talking about raising financial taxes, obviously that's something that is concerning. But if I'm talking about raising the tax of the hearts of the people, so that we are patriotic and we give allegiance to the flag, and we can say to ourselves, ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. If you can vote for me in 2023, everything you need, I'll get that for you. And that's how politicians answer questions. At the end of the day, when you're finished, you're like, did he say he's not going to give us taxes? Did he say he's going to give us taxes? Like, I don't understand what he was talking about. And politicians, they do something that's called spin. They never give you factual information. They never answer your questions. And because of that, people now have a distrust for leaders and for leadership, because people don't answer questions and people don't really give you wisdom. But when she was asking Solomon questions, the point of his answer was not to give her spin. The point of his answer was not to confuse her. The point of his answer was to answer what she was asking him. So she asked him one question, he answered her and gave her a full answer. She asked him another question, he answered her and he gave her a full answer. She asked another question and he answered her, and she thought to herself, this is wisdom. Until I believe she shifted from answering questions out of a critical spirit to where she started to ask questions seeking wisdom. And the Bible says that every question that she asked, Solomon answered it. And he answered it well, and he answered it with wisdom. And when she took the answer that he had and applied it to her life, it transformed her life. And the thing that's so amazing about this is because Solomon, in answering her questions, he began to develop an environment that shows, number one, he's not intimidated by her. He begins to develop an environment that shows that he cares about her. A lot of times we don't even think about this, but the person who asks questions is actually the person that is in power. Anytime you're dealing with a boss, an employee, especially you're dealing with a totalitarian boss, or you're dealing with somebody who is, somebody who is a micromanager, when you get into the office, all they do is ask you questions. And they ask you questions with an intention that you'll answer them. In those kinds of relationships, very seldom in those kinds of relationships, do they seek for the person who is following them to ask them questions. And when you do ask them questions, they give you political spin many times. Answer without giving you an answer. But if you talk to a person in authority who's a totalitarian and you give them spin, they say, answer the question. They don't expect for you to not give them a direct and clear answer. I'm saying this because Solomon is different. Because he's so secure in his power and his authority that even when you ask him questions, he still understands that he's a leader. Even when you suspect him, he still understands that he's a leader. So he doesn't really care if you agree with him or don't agree with him. But he doesn't have to hide from your questions, because your questions, all they do is reveal truth. And anyone who has wisdom, they always desire truth. They desire truth in the inward parts. They desire truth to be spoken, because truth is what establishes real authority and real leadership. If you're dealing with a leader who is okay with you asking them questions, if you're dealing with a leader who is okay you being powerful and not intimidated or not scared of you, that leader now is producing an environment that allows other leaders to be able to operate with them. Operate in partnership with them, where they may lead that person, but also operate independently of them. Because when it was time for Sheba to leave, Solomon didn't say, you got to stay here. You got to be one of my wives. He didn't say that. He let her go. Because as a leader, he understood that I need to create an environment that gives people freedom. So one of the first thing that he did is that he created an environment by developing a relationship with her, by allowing her to ask him questions, ask him anything she wants to ask him, and he in turn is answering her question. Now, even though she had brought great gifts for him, it appears like the answers that he was giving to her were worth far more than what she gave to him. So in other words, Solomon was not looking for payment from her to be able to bless her with what God has given him in terms of wisdom. So that is another step in how he was building an environment that was non-toxic. He was building an environment where it gave this lady the freedom to be herself, but also to grow. And the reason I'm talking about this is because Solomon intentionally developed an environment to give her the freedom to be a leader who is growing. He didn't criticize her and say, you don't know this stuff? You're leading a country, you don't know this stuff? No. He respected her, he supported her, and he helped her. He helped her because he understood that, you know what? A part of building a kingdom, or a part of building an organization, or even I would even say a part of building a church, is it is best built when you have peace. It is best built when you're not fighting with people. And the best way to stop fighting and the best way to stop jealousy is to give to people great gifts. One of the greatest gifts that you can give a person is answers that cause their spirit to have peace. Even more than money. If a person has a bad enough situation, when you give them money, money may not help it. But when you're able to figure out a way to give a person peace of mind, no matter what they're going through, if you can find a way to give somebody peace of mind, that peace of mind is more powerful than any other thing you can give them. In fact, sometimes if I have to pay, say, $500 in rent and I'm short, and you give me $500, at the end of the day, yes, I got money, but the thing that's more important is I got the peace of mind. I don't have to worry about paying my rent anymore because I got the money. So the money is not 100% the problem. Because let's say, for example, I can't pay my rent, but someone down the road is willing to give me another place for free. You see, I don't have any money, but I have peace of mind. So what Solomon understood that's very, very important if I'm engaging with people and I want to develop an environment that's positive. I have to be able to give them a peace of mind. So he answered her questions and he gave her peace of mind. And there's so much more I could talk about how he intentionally tried to impact her in a positive way, how he intentionally tried to show kindness to her. And I would even put it so far to say, try to show love to his neighbor. He intentionally was hospitable. He intentionally did all of these things to cause her to recognize that there's no reason to be in fear of him. There's no reason to fret, because he is a friend.